Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Living Well with the Wells. We're still on our 30-day anti-candida diet in the Wells home, and today I have a special challenge and a cooking demonstration for you. My challenge is that you look at ingredients you already have, identify 2 or 3 primary ingredients, maybe some meats and vegetables, and then I want you to think of something you've eaten in the past, maybe at a restaurant, maybe at a family event, but something that you remember having these 2 or 3 main ingredients. Google a few recipes, find out the general flavorings and spices that go into it, and then try to recreate something similar. This is a lot of fun. In the cooking demonstration, I do it with a chowder. I've been in the Northeast, I've had their haddock chowder, and it's delicious. And it left an imprint in my mind such that I want to have this stuff again. But you know what? It's September in Houston, and we're still enjoying 100-degree temperatures. So the last thing I want is a hot soup. So I've modified it to not be a soup. You'll see that in this video. The other thing is, I remember it having a lot of white potato. We don't want white potato on our anti-candida diet, but I have zucchini on hand. And zucchini tends to replace white potato really well in a lot of recipes. So that's what I did today. I had white fish, I had some zucchini, and that was really it. And I thought, let me look up some haddock chowder recipes and see if I can recreate something that tastes similar. Do it with any recipe you want. I promise you, if you go online and Google 5 recipes for beef stroganoff, because you remember that beef stroganoff has beef and some sour cream in it, and you look at 5 different recipes, you're going to find that the combination of all the ingredients that go into it are going to be highly variable between all 5 of those recipes. And the reason is because there is no hard and fast rule. So the challenge really is to look at what you have, find something to create, throw out the rule book, and go to town. Enjoy this demonstration on this haddock chowder inspired recipe that I made for our family just a couple of nights ago. Try it for yourself. Leave comments below. If you've tried anything like this, please share your experiences with it, okay? It's a lot of fun. I encourage you to embrace the challenge and go for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some bacon fat. You can use any oil or shortening that you wish. Avocado oil, coconut oil, or even olive oil, because we're not going to heat the skillet super hot. So olive oil would be safe to use also. So I'm letting the skillet warm up. And in the meantime, I'm going to start cutting and adding my vegetables. Now, a classic New England clam chowder or fish chowder would have white potato in it, but that has almost zero nutritive value and it's very high carbohydrate. So on this low carb diet, zucchini or any kind of squash along those same lines is a great alternative because it has a lot of the same characteristics that a white potato would have in terms of its texture and mouthfeel and in terms of the way that it absorbs the flavors of whatever dish that it's in. So here you can see I'm cutting it. I'm basically cutting slices and quartering them. I'm just doing it in this way. They're little bite-sized pieces, adding them to the skillet, and then we're going to zoom through the rest of them here so that you don't get bored to tears watching me slice vegetables. You can see I've thrown in 1 yellow squash, and I'm adding a total of 3 green zucchini, and that's just because that's what I had on hand. There's no other secret to that. Having added them with the skillet hot, I just give them a little bit of a stir to distribute them. Now on my stovetop, that skillet is evenly heated very well throughout the bottom, so that's why I spread them out the way that I did so that they're cooking evenly. So now I'm adding some onion, another classic component to a chowder. And again, I'm cutting it into nice small pieces. I'm chopping it, you would say, and these are going to be about 1/4 inch pieces. And I just have 1 kind of medium-sized yellow onion here. And we'll zoom through the rest of this so that, again, you don't get bored watching me chop vegetables. You have better ways to use your time, I'm sure. Okay, so now all of the veggies are added. I just stir in the onions. And the next thing that we are going to add is the bacon. Bacon, another classic component to a good chowder. Now, I'm adding the bacon at this point after the vegetables because I want it to remain a little soft. Had I wanted it to be more crispy, I would have cut it up and add it at the very beginning so that it got a head start. And you can see I'm not adding a ton of bacon. I don't want it to be overwhelming. So we've added the bacon, and again, just a quick stir to get everything incorporated. I haven't added any spices yet, and so here I'm adding a good coarse natural salt that's unadulterated. And then we let it cook on down. After it's cooked to where everything's softened well and the bacon's cooked, then we spoon it out into a bowl just to set it aside while we continue on with the rest of the dish. Now, I'm only about 20 minutes into this thing so far. So this is a very quick meal. I've kept the skillet hot, and I've made sure there's enough shortening still in the skillet, because now I'm adding in the riced cauliflower, another low carb option, and definitely not something you would find in a classic chowder, right? But I'm not really going for a pure chowder, which is why I say kind of a chowder. So I've got riced cauliflower, frozen riced cauliflower cooking in the skillet, and now I'm chopping up some fresh chives that I had sitting around, and they were starting to get a little wilty, and this is one of those things where I thought, I think I can throw these into this dish because they'll complement the flavors great. They're going to go bad if I don't use them, so let's put them in. I'm just sticking them on top of my heap of cooked vegetables there, so they'll go in here in just a little bit. So I just continue cooking the riced cauliflower, breaking it up. And I'm going to cook that until it's most of the moisture is gone out of it. That's really the end game for the riced cauliflower. And I'm cranking up my stove temperature there to speed it along, and because it's frozen, so I need to inject a lot more heat into that skillet to counteract the frozenness of the cauliflower. And you can see now it's become nicely browned. Now some of that brown is from the bacon and the oils and stuff that were already in the skillet. Okay, so but once it's well cooked, I'm adding all the vegetables back in, and we're nearing the end of this dish. So you can see this has not been a complicated affair. In fact, we would call this a one-pot dish, right? Because everything at the end of the day, your veggies and meat and everything end up in one pot. But where is the meat? Here's the meat right here. What I am placing now is some wild-caught Dover sole, S-O-L-E. And I like it because it's a white fish. It's a smaller fish, so it's not going to have all the mercury toxicity. And it's wild in this case. Please never buy farmed fish if you can help it. They feed those things all kinds of stuff you don't want to be putting into your system. But it's also a very affordable fish to have. So if you wanted to go a little higher class, do like they do in New England or up in Maine and use haddock for your chowder. That is a great white fish, but it's much, much more pricey, at least down here in Houston, Texas, it is. And now I'm adding some goat milk. And I'm putting just enough goat milk to come up to the bottom of the fish, but I don't want this to be a real juicy chowder. I'm not really going for a soup. And I'm using goat milk because we're avoiding cow dairy, but cow milk would have been great. Heavy cream would have been awesome. But this is what we've used. And so I let it cook with the lid on just long enough to get that white fish cooked through. And then I removed the lid for probably another good, 10 or 15 minutes. And this is what it looks like after I've turned the stove off, so you can see how much moisture is gone. And so you guys can see that what we've made here is a one-pot dish that contains zucchini, cauliflower, and fish, right? And some onion. Those are the basic components. And the only real seasonings that I've put in this thing are salt, and then the bacon imparts a lot of flavor also, and the chives. And that's it. And then, of course, the goat milk also has some flavor that it's imparted. So we ate this dish, and my family loved it. Feel free to experiment with it. Okay, add in different spices. Dill works fantastic if you have some fresh dill laying around. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to bringing more stuff to you in the near future.